Welcome to the All About You podcast. My name is Sheila and I am your host. In this podcast, I invite people to tell their stories of their travels, hobbies, and passions. These podcasts are also now available on my All About You YouTube channel. So if you have a story to tell, please contact me on allaboutyoupodcast@yahoo.com and let's tell your story. Welcome to the All About You podcast. And today my guest is makeup artist Lauren Fry. Lauren, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for having me.
Lauren, I'm really looking forward to this conversation because today we are talking all things makeup and especially wedding makeup. Not just for the bride, but for the guests, the mother of the bride, and anybody going to any celebration. So, Lauren, let's start at the very beginning. When did you first discover makeup?
I suppose, like a lot of people, the first time I discovered makeup was my earliest memories of watching my mum put on her makeup, I suppose, which is that old cliche. And then I guess from there onwards, it was just something I enjoyed. It was from being a teenager, and I wouldn't say I wore a lot of makeup as a teenager by any means, and I don't think I wear a lot of makeup now, but it's just something that I really enjoy the ritual of for myself, and I really enjoy being able to kind of give that ritual to others as well, basically.
I think that's very interesting when you talk about the ritual of makeup, isn't it? I think particularly during the pandemic, the first thing that went out the window is people were not putting on makeup because they weren't going to work, they weren't going out socially, and skincare became a huge thing.
It really did, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I must admit, I love watching a skincare video on YouTube, a makeup video, absolutely. And it just blew up about skincare. It was just phenomenal. And it's quite interesting because if we think about skincare is looking after the skin, makeup could be used for making the best of your eyes, but also we use it as a camouflage, sometimes as a bit of sort of body armor as well. You know, we put on my face to face the world.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think people fall into sometimes both, but mostly people fall into one of two camps, I think. And there's the people who are wanting to feel more put together and the best version of themselves, but then there are also obviously the people who, like you quite rightly said, who there is an element of hiding behind makeup, which is a very, very in-depth and interesting conversation. But two different camps, I think, for sure.
So, Lauren, when you were a teenager then, did you spend all your time making up your friends when you were going out as a teenager, or were you not interested? Did you experiment more on yourself?
I really enjoyed it, but if I'm honest, I can only actually recall one time where I did the makeup of my friends, and this is something that I'll touch upon probably later on with you. But yeah, I came late to the world of putting makeup on other people. Yeah, I enjoyed it for myself, but that was something that came later for me, was putting makeup on other people.
Growing up, I remember being at my nana's and she would wear a Pond's lipstick that had the most glorious smell to it. It doesn't even exist now. And in those days, people had a beautiful makeup compact with loose powder, and you had like a netting thing over the top, and they would just snap shut with this beautiful sound. And I remember my mum had one with a mother of pearl cover to it, and I just thought, they got out the compact, they put their lipstick on, they snap shut the compact, and I just thought that was the most glamorous thing ever.
I feel like a huge proportion of the makeup industry now is centered on the packaging and what the packaging looks like, and it's the brands who are really working hard on their packaging looking like that, but in a way that's obviously they can replicate on a mass scale. Those are the brands that really accelerate.
It's very interesting you're talking about packaging, because obviously we're not going to mention any brand names here. No. But I remember watching a TV program talking about the manufacturing of makeup, and it said particularly with lipsticks, when you can sort of snap that clip on a lipstick, that's what everybody is trying to replicate, whether it's a high-end brand, whether it's a drugstore or a mid-range price. That ritual of that putting the cover
Yeah.
on and then the snap. Absolutely.
That nice kind of loud, heavy sound, I think, that sounds like luxury packaging, basically.
I think the thing is, it was described as a luxury car. It's the sound when you close the door. With a lipstick, it's that click when you actually put the two pieces together. We are digressing. I knew we would digress. Okay, Lauren, so let's talk about when you decided to train as a makeup artist.
So I actually trained in makeup back in 2012 when I did a complete kind of 180 shift on my skill set, and I decided to go back to college and study beauty. Previously to that, if we can touch upon that now, what I did before that, I actually studied zoology at university. Yeah, bit of a 180 shift, and everybody sort of looks at me wide-eyed when I say that how on earth did you go from zoology to going back to training that? And I think basically I'd always enjoyed makeup, but I'd never actually allowed myself to see it as something that I would see as a serious career and something I would want to train in. Because when I went to school, I think this is just the takeaway that I came away from my particular school with, is that if you didn't go to university and study something respectable in inverted commas, then they weren't that interested, really. I was interested in animals, I was interested in animal science, in biology, so off I went to uni to study zoology. Enjoyed it, absolutely. Did I go with any real idea of what I would then come out with in terms of my career prospects and realistic prospects of what I could earn in terms of a living wage? No, nobody prepared me for that. But they had pigeonholed me into, you're good at science, therefore you are a pragmatist, you're a scientist, you're not a creative, and therefore that's the path that you should follow. So that's what I did. And then, as so many graduates do, I came out of university. I was very much for getting myself away from education because I just wanted to be out in the world and earning. So I just kind of got a job doing anything. You know, I think I was in an administrative role. Yeah, I just found that I couldn't do anything particularly that was going to earn me a living wage with my degree in biological sciences. And eventually, I just think because I had sat and stagnated in a job that didn't fill me with any kind of passion a couple of years afterwards, I just got to the point where I went, well, what really interests me? And with a few extra years of life experience under my belt, I went, well, do you know what? Makeup and beauty interests me. I can look back now and say, why was that not offered to me as a legitimate career choice? Why was that not ever mentioned as being okay? Why couldn't I just go to college at that age and do that instead? So that was, I think, 2011, at which point I went, right, I'm off back to college. And I studied beauty, and within that there was an area that you could specialize in makeup. And it was at that point that I went, okay, the rest of the beauty course, yeah, I quite like that, but it's makeup. Makeup is what I want to do.
So when you were doing the makeup course, were you sort of offered, okay, to do bridal makeup, stage makeup?
Yeah, they made it clear to us, like, if you want to specialize in makeup, there are so many different areas that you can go into. And I think a lot of people are really excited by the idea of the stage makeup or TV and film and special effects, which is super, super cool. It didn't take a lot of thought for me to realize that what I was really interested in was making people feel good, and in particular making people feel really beautiful and really confident. And when is that more important, I suppose, than on your wedding day? So that's how I ended up down that path, really.
Let's talk about weddings then, because we are entering the wedding season, the first time for about 2 years.
Yeah.
I mean, for you, it must be crazy.
It is. It's going to be a mad year. Yeah, absolutely zero complaints about that. I'm ready.
So let's start at the beginning then. So the bride, she's got everything sorted. She's got a dress. She's organised her hair. Right, she's now got to think about what she's going to do for makeup on the day. Where does she start?
I think most brides don't necessarily realise that different makeup artists have a different style of work. Most often what they will do, and the reason I know this is because as someone who specialises in more natural makeup, most of my brides, even though they are people who either never wear makeup or they wear very little makeup on a normal basis, they will come to me with inspiration photos, which I ask for, that, you know, that they bring with them to their trial. They will bring inspiration photos of people who are extremely heavily made up. And I can also look at the picture and say, that is a very heavily edited picture. You know, that lady has got not a single pore on her face. She's got no lines anywhere. So there's an element of managing expectations when you see pictures like that, because the first thing that people see, because of we're so bombarded with images of perfection in makeup on social media, the first and most difficult of my jobs is to manage expectations around what makeup can actually do for you. Makeup is not going to, yes, we can disguise things, we can use certain techniques that might make fine lines less apparent, but they're still going to be there. There is physical texture on your face, and there are things that, you know, the natural shapes and contours in your face. Yes, we can adapt and disguise where we need to and enhance where we need to, but we can't change things about textural and shape related irregularities that are already there. So that's the first thing that I think brides have to sometimes learn, a lot of the time I suppose, is we are not going to achieve a completely poreless, lineless, textureless canvas. And even if we could, in real life, you would look like a doll. And we're getting into the realms of psychology now, and, you know, why human beings find dolls creepy and find robots creepy. If you were to look like that, as she does in that photo in real life, you would find yourself thoroughly unnerving, because you wouldn't look human. And that is probably, now that I really think about it, it's probably one of the questions that I really drive home with brides when I do a trial is, do you feel like yourself right now? Yes, okay, you're wearing more makeup than you normally would, but this is not a normal occasion. You know, there's different requirements of wedding makeup. You know, we need to make sure that obviously that you look incredible to somebody stood having a conversation with you, but we also need to make sure that your makeup makes your features stand out in photography and flash photography later on. And then also the longevity is there, you know, because here in Spain, a wedding ceremony, you know, might be 4, 5, 6 p.m. And then that makeup has got to last until 4, 5, 6 a.m. the next morning. So there are things to consider in terms of, yeah, it's not going to be your everyday makeup, and it's not going to be exactly the same as that. Otherwise, what are you paying me for? But you should still feel like yourself. And that's something that I have to really, really make sure that I get out of my brides. And if they don't, fine, we work until they're happy.
Let's talk about Pacific makeup then. So particularly you're in Spain, we've got a battle with the climate. That's probably the number one issue in respect of keeping the face on during the day.
There's a number of different techniques that I have to use when I'm actually applying makeup that will differ based on that particular client and their skin type, but it all centers around the order that the products go in, working in thin layers. People expect there to be these like 2 or 3 holy grail products where you're like, this is what's going to make your makeup stay on, because that's what people market at you, isn't it? It's, if you use this setting spray, your makeup will stay on for 12 hours. And yeah, I'm sure that setting spray helps, but it's also the 10 steps previous to that. That starts with skincare. So we'll have a chat about what skin type the bride has, how her skin normally tends to behave for her on a daily basis. We'll adapt her prior skincare to putting on the makeup before we even start. Then it's a case of, okay, I use, say, 3 different brands and types of foundations on each bride, but I will use each one of those different formulas in varying different amounts to concoct her own foundation mixture that suits her skin tone, her skin type, and therefore how long it's going to last on her. Then we're talking about thin layers of other products to set that makeup. And this is all before we even get to thinking about the setting sprays that are the thing that's supposed to lock your makeup in place. So yeah, there's a big take-home message. If you want your makeup to last a long time, it's about working in thin layers and building product up slowly just as much as it is using holy grail products that promise you the earth in terms of longevity.
And I guess the thing as well is, Lauren, it's probably a good idea if you know you're getting married, start thinking about looking after your skin months and months in advance, drinking plenty of water, maybe cutting down on the sugar, and having a session with you to say, okay, I'm getting married in 6 months' time. What should I be doing now to make sure my skin is the best it can be before you work your magic?
For sure, yeah. And I actually have a pre-wedding guide I send out to my brides as soon as they secure a date with me, because most brides, they will book into my diary probably a bare minimum 6 months prior to their wedding. And at that point, as soon as they've secured with me, I've got a guide that I send out to them, and it's basically got a nice concise list of bullet points. These are the things that if you want to maximize the opportunity of really beautiful makeup, these are the things that you need to do. I'm not saying you have to do them, but these are my recommendations on how, I think my wording in the document is how we can achieve that best bridal glow. So they're recommendations, they're not me telling people what to do, but they do come with the caveat of, if you choose not to do these things, there are certain things that we might not be able to achieve for you, that's all.
What are some of the mistakes that brides make?
I think the two biggest mistakes I see is not realizing, which is fine, or simply just not placing any or enough importance on skincare prior to makeup, because that underpins everything. And if it's very clear to me the second someone sits in my chair, if they don't take care of their skin, and I immediately have to say to them, look, we're not going to be able to achieve this in all likelihood. I can absolutely do my best, and this is the level we might achieve. But if by the wedding you want X, Y, Z, then, we need to do this. And then the second biggest mistake I think I find, and this is something that I'm here to help with, but it's picking either makeup or colors that are not right for that person. So when I say the makeup itself, perhaps they've got an eye shape quite similar to me, where the eye sits quite far back into the socket, or they actually have a hooded eye shape, as many people do, where the brow bone sits quite low, or maybe for more mature brides, the actual skin sits lower on the eye. And they come to me and they say they want a winged eyeliner, and they'll show me a picture of this very graphic, sharp winged liner, which is obviously very much in fashion now, but that's never going to look good on her, because she doesn't have the same eye shape as the model she's showing me in the picture. The model in the picture has got all this space between her lash line and her brows, so you can see everything. But if the bride herself has a brow bone that sits very low, I could put that liner on there and we're not going to see it. And unless I explicitly explain that, she won't necessarily understand that. And then colours, and this is an amazing topic that is absolutely life-changing, but picking the right colours, whether that's your makeup, your clothes, changes the way you look and the way you feel drastically. So if, for example, at the most basic level, most people can look at someone and say, you've got a very warm olivey tone to your skin, you're very, very fair, and you've got very cool tones, your veins might look very blue, things like that. But they'll come to me perhaps with the opposite colour matches based on what they've chosen. And I then sometimes have, I wouldn't say a tricky conversation, but you do have to make people understand that there are certain colours that work better for them, and that if I was to put those colours that they have chosen on them as a bride, it might not suit them as best it could, or at worst, if we're talking something really obvious like a bold lip colour that has the wrong undertone, you can actually make someone look sick. Okay, fine, there are cases when a bride is like, but that's my lipstick, that's the colour I always wear, and I won't feel like myself without it. Who am I to say, no, you can't have that? That's fine. But I do have to advise, if I see that mistake, please can we consider these other colour tones, because they will bring you to life as opposed to drain you. So those are the two biggest mistakes, I suppose, is picking makeup that is not right for your particular features, and then choosing colours that are not right for your natural colouring.
I think that's really interesting what you're saying there, Lauren, because Mother Nature is very clever. She has given us skin, hair, eye colour, tone to your lips, to your eyebrows, that is unique to you and is all coordinated. But as soon as we start to put any kind of colour on our face or our hair, We really need to understand colour, and makeup is akin to being an artist. You've got to understand colour, you've got to understand shade and tone. There's a huge gamble when you are getting married, and if we think about the typical bride, a big white dress, a big white veil, white is not the easiest colour to wear.
I mean, I don't want to tread on the toes of bridal shops here, but any good bridal shop should be noticing the difference between a bride's natural skin tones and saying, I don't recommend you go for off-white, I recommend you go for ivory because it's much warmer. And that's another really simple example. You've got white, you've got ivory, which is a warmer white, can make all the difference.
So Lauren, can we just talk about your own personal makeup kit?
How much makeup have you got?
When I first started out, I had a lot more. And I think that's one of the biggest mistakes that professional makeup artists make, is having too much kit, because you very quickly realize you buy all of this kit as when you first start out, and then you realize 6 months down the line, I've got this and that I've never even touched really. For the majority of my clientele, I only ever use, say, 3 or 4 foundation tones, because you mix your foundations anyway to get a bespoke colour for that person compared to the average person. Yeah, I have got a lot of makeup. I've got currently sat in my little studio at the minute. Kit is packed up from a job that I did yesterday, and I've got 2 kind of large vanity cases full, and that's not including my spare stock. Just kind of sat there waiting for me to use it. And yeah, compared to a lot of people, that is a lot of makeup. But I also think that compared to some other professional makeup artists, maybe I don't have that much. It's just because you end up realizing that you just don't need it necessarily. You figure out what concoctions of products work for you. You very quickly figure out which products are just not useful to you at all, because maybe your particular client base just doesn't really ask for it. I think a good example is I must have maybe 15 to 20 lipsticks in my arsenal, and I use 4, maybe 5, because brides in particular want certain colours generally, and my brides in particular, who are more on the natural glam side of things, want even fewer. So yeah, makes me feel more secure in myself that I've got umpteen different lipsticks there just in case. How many do I use? A quarter.
Your bride's sitting in the chair, you've got the pictures, so you're then custom blending the foundation to her skin type, and then you're talking about eye makeup, blush, eyebrows, lipstick. How long would the average bridal makeup on the day take?
On the day, I always schedule an hour for the bride, always. Her trial will be around 2 hours, because we're talking, and we're also talking about the actual logistics of the wedding day and timings and things. But on the day, without a shadow of a doubt, I schedule an hour.
That doesn't actually seem that much time to me, but I guess when you're doing the trial, are you sort of writing down or making notes of what you've used where?
Absolutely, yeah. And the first thing I do after a trial is I have my little notes section on my phone open, and I write down everything I've done step by step. Okay, there are certain aspects that for everyone is the same that I will always do, but yeah, you're right, a lot of it is very person specific, and I'll sit and write that down so I can replicate it exactly on the day.
So Lauren, is there anything else we need to cover about bridal makeup?
Yeah, I think the only thing that I didn't delve very much into for anybody who is thinking about getting their makeup done for their wedding is I touched upon the balance that bridal makeup has to strike between what looks good in person and what looks good through the lens of a camera. So I always have to say to my brides in particular, as somebody who specializes in more natural makeup, is when you look in the mirror at the end when we're finished, you are going to look like you have more makeup on than you normally do. And that is because we have to get the balance of what looks good to a person just stood having a conversation with you, but then your features with that makeup on still have to stand out nicely in your photography. So the normal reaction that I get from my brides is, first of all, they hold the mirror about an inch away from their face, This happens every time. I have to say to them, okay, is anyone going to look at you that close, apart from your significant other? And they already know what you look like, so don't worry. Hold the mirror out at arm's length in front of a window, so you've got a full face of natural light on your face with no harsh shadows falling anywhere. And you are going to look different. You have got, of course, you've got more makeup on than you would normally wear, because that's the point of what we're doing here. It's makeup with longevity, and it's makeup that's got to look defined through the camera. So just be prepared. If this is you, you are going to look like you've got more makeup on than normal. It's absolutely fine. Just allow yourself to get used to what you look like with special occasion makeup on, because it's not everyday makeup, and that's okay. That's a good thing. That's what we're here for. I say to my brides at the end of the trial, yes, you look different, of course you do, but you look incredible. I want you to go away. I want you to take 1,000 selfies. I want you to check yourself out in every reflective surface. Give your brain the opportunity to get used to what you look like with special occasion makeup on. And if you're still not happy later, send me a text message with the things you want to change, and I will change my notes. And I would say 90% of cases, they'll text me later and say, thank you for telling me that. As soon as I get used to it, I loved it.
That is such an interesting point, isn't it? Because this is quite possibly the first time this person has had their makeup professionally done. Just in itself is going to be way different to her normal everyday makeup. It's going to be quite a big shock. I mean, I'm sure it's a pleasant shock. You know, you are looking the best because somebody understands the shape of your face, the shape of your eyes, your lips, the skincare, layering the products, what to enhance, what to camouflage. They've done all the technical side of things. So yeah, I'm pretty sure it does take a little bit of getting used to. Can we talk about if you're going to be a guest for a wedding? Just somebody going to a posh do. What are some of the mistakes we make?
And this is all very well me saying this as somebody who works in makeup, but it's perhaps just not giving it enough thought prior to the day. Do you know what I mean? People really look forward to going to events like these. It's a nice day, it's a happy occasion. We're going to go and eat nice food, we're going to drink lots of wine, we're going to dance, and it's going to be lovely, and we're going to celebrate the union of two people that we really enjoy spending time with. So why wouldn't you just a little bit of extra thought into that on the day? If it's something that you then are likely to end up feeling stressed about, or like you look in the mirror before you go, oh, I should have allocated more time to this, or oh, that'll do, that kind of thing. Why not just allocate yourself 5 or 10 minutes after you've bought your outfit at some point along that process to go, right, what colours have I got in my outfit? Can I incorporate that anywhere? Because it's that colour cohesiveness that makes you look really put together, and if you choose the right colours, can make you look absolutely outstanding. Have you ever had someone say to you, oh, you look lovely in that colour, oh, that really suits you? Everyone's had that at one time or another, and it's because you're on that day wearing the right colours for you. It's that little bit of extra preparation or that extra thought. What colours have I got in my outfit? What colours have people told me in the past really suit me? Let's make sure I just leave those things out, so that I don't have to search for them on the day. And maybe just allow yourself an extra 10 minutes. If you're not a big makeup person and maybe you'll wear it on special occasions and that's it, fine. Even if it's only going to take you 15 minutes, just give yourself 20 minutes, half an hour instead. Just that little bit of extra time and preparation, and you will feel much more special, and it will feel like much more of a ritual. The vast majority of people will put at least a certain level of thought into their outfit, but to me, your makeup and your hairstyle is just as much a part of that outfit. So why do people forget? I don't know.
Yeah, interesting point. So Lauren, let's talk about makeup in general now. I was reading an article the other day, and they said the average price of a woman's makeup bag, just the general item she's carrying around with her day to day, is nearing about £500.
Woo! Yeah, I can well believe that.
When we look at some of the, I don't want to say high-end makeups, some of these makeup now, I mean, you're looking at this palette and it's £60 for a palette, and £40 for a lipstick, and I'm not going to mention any brands here, but I think you can see, if somebody does lose their makeup bag, how much money that's going to cost to repair it. One of the things that always interests me and I'm looking at on YouTube video is what they call dupes. Basically, they get a high-end makeup, and then all these people who have YouTube channels will basically go out and they will find the same color, texture, a tenth of the price, basically a drugstore copy of the original. And it really makes me wonder, because I'm sure there are only so many factories in the world that are churning out eyeshadow, lipstick, foundation, exactly the same as sunglasses and trainers and all the rest of it. Let's talk about this business of dupes. Do you think it's a good thing, or do you think it's a bad thing? What do you think?
I love a good dupe. I don't necessarily always get the opportunity to make that part of my kit, because I think brides like to see high-end brands. And okay, I will not always subscribe to more expensive is better, because I don't believe that. But in my own makeup, 100%. I follow particular Instagram accounts that are dedicated to finding good quality dupes. And like you said earlier, there's only a certain amount of factories in the world. I can think of at least kind of 4 brands that I can pair together where products are made in the same factories and are pretty much just different packaging. So yeah, dupes, in my opinion, are a good thing. I think for me, that's also based on a fundamental mistrust of marketing. I don't know what it is, whether that's just me as a person. I dislike being marketed to. Certain high-end makeup brands are deliberately misleading in what they can actually realistically offer in this product. And they will deliberately use language that is confusing to the average person. And it just really annoys me. So yeah, dupes, if I can find the same or a similar shade or formula, it will be in my makeup bag.
So let's talk about the general everyday makeup for somebody. Where should we be spending our money, and where can we go for a drugstore brand? What's your opinion of this?
I'm just thinking through my own everyday makeup, because I think quite naturally I tend towards, okay, what are the bare minimum? So the first thing is your skin. That takes up the majority of your face. So that's mostly what people see. We don't want flawless for every day. That would look odd, but healthy. We want glowy, and more than anything else, and this is something else I hammer home to everyone, we want SPF. So for me, I use a tinted SPF 40, I think it is, as a bare minimum, because it provides me with a little bit of everyday level coverage. It smooths out, some irregularities in my skin tone, and it gives me protection from the sun. And I don't care where you live. I don't care if it's raining. I don't care if it's cloudy. You need your SPF. So yeah, that would be the biggest thing. Invest in a tinted SPF. And then let me think. Brows are the next thing that massively change everyone's face. A lot of people have brows that are either imbalanced or they are a bit sparse in places. And these are the things that can make us look older. We associate a nice fluffy brow with youth. So that's something to focus on. As the second point is, it doesn't have to be anything difficult or complex, but a good brow pencil, and just draw hairs into the gaps where there are none. The third thing, mascara. I honestly sometimes don't practice what I preach, but if I'm teaching a makeup lesson, I will say never skip mascara, because it's something that instantly makes you look more awake. It opens up your eyes and it makes your eyes look more defined. And as human beings, we tend to, when we're speaking to someone, we look at their eyes or we look at their mouth. So we need to aim for those areas of definition, which leads me on to the final point, which is just something to do the same for your lips. Just give them a little bit of help. If you're like me, my natural lip color can just look a bit washed out if I don't put anything on them. So even if it's just a tinted lip balm, again with SPF, if you can find it, great. Every single one of those things is just aiming for a wash of something that looks healthy and definition. We just want those two things. We want a healthiness and we want definition. That would be the bare minimum.
I love that. Healthy and definition. That is absolutely brilliant, because if we can think of healthy and definition when we are ready to put our makeup on, healthy, how does it make my skin look? Does my skin need warming up? Does it need a bit of shine taken off? Do I need a bit of colour in my cheeks? Definition. Okay, Do I want to emphasize my eyes? Do I want to emphasize my lips? What do I want to do? So healthy and definition. Oh my God, Lauren, I think we've cracked it.
If I'm doing my own makeup, I can do it in 10-15 minutes based on what I've just, the products that I've just mentioned.
I mean, and that's really we're talking about the day-to-day person going to work, looking after children, just to feel yourself, but a little bit better. And literally just 5 minutes, you can, a little bit of blush, bit of lip balm or lip gloss, eyelashes done with your mascara. It will make you feel better.
Absolutely. Yeah. You don't have to spend hours in front of a mirror, 15 different products to feel put together and ready to face the world, basically.
Lauren, absolutely brilliant. And I absolutely love healthy and defined, or definition, whichever way you want to call it. Those two words to bear in mind when we are sitting in front of our makeup unit. Absolutely. I think you've cracked it in those two words. Lauren, it's been an absolute pleasure, and I've learned so much. And hopefully with the wedding season in full swing, wherever you are around the world, hopefully we've got some good tips for the bride, for the wedding guests, anybody going to a big event, or just putting on your best face to face the day every day. Lauren, thank you so much.
No, absolutely. Thank you very much for having me. Absolute pleasure. And I hope I've managed to give people, even if it's just a little bit of knowledge that helps them to feel good.
Oh, absolutely brilliant. Thank you very much, Lauren.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed the conversation. Please subscribe on whatever platform you are using. It is free, and if you would like to tell your story, please contact me on allaboutyoupodcast@yahoo.com and let's tell your story.